The last 10 games from Keyonte George, wildly important. And thank goodness it's arrived. Next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 pow. How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. Thank you very much. We are free and available on all podcasting apps and YouTube, and we have a free daily newsletter for you. Go to get it every day in your inbox, all the latest on the Jazz, NBA, fantasy basketball at Locked On Daily. Today's show is brought to you in part by our friends over at FanDuel. Throat is a little funky this morning. FanDuel, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place $50 bet, and they get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, today's show. Two things. I've gone deep dive, basketball junkie, into the weeds on NBA shot distribution. Woohoo! That sounds so exciting. Think you'll find it interesting. We need to shoot way more threes. What? Yep. We need to shoot the whole league does, shoot way more threes than we're shooting right now. First, though, I want to dig into Keyonte George and how important what he's done in the last 10 games is. So here's what Keyonte has done in the last 10 games. And it's not unbelievable, but it's way better. And it's even after slumping and going 3 of his last 16 from 3. In other words, this show would have been better 3 days ago. But let's hold with it. In the last 10 games, Keyonte has shot 43% from the field, 34% from 3, 86% from the free throw line. He's averaging 16 points. So I don't really care. 3 rebounds, 5 assists. He is turning it over 4 times a game. Let's not ignore that. That is real. But that could be a positional problem. Here's why this matters. When you look at Keyonte George at the end of his first season in the NBA, so Keyonte George, and it feels like it's probably not fair, in 75 games, shoots under 39% from the field and shoots under 33% from 3. At the very end of the year last year, he got good enough to cross over some really nasty thresholds. In other words, had he shot under 40% from the field and under 33% from 3, in that opening year, it gets a little ugly on when you start to project where someone's career is going to go. But now we're beginning to see in that last 10 games some signs that there's something here. His overall trend is not great. If you just take Keyonte's career shooting numbers, he's put himself into a position of players where the amount that make it start to get reduced. Here's the best way I can say it to you. When you draft a player 16th in the NBA, there's a 50% chance you're getting a rotation player, not a starter or an all-star or anything like that, a rotation player. When you draft 16th in the NBA, you have a 50% chance of getting a rotation player. If you remember, we did that in massive everydayers will remember this. We did an massive NBA draft history breakdown over the summer where I went through, since 2017, I went through every pick in the NBA draft. And the 16th pick at an expected value in our book of 1.6. And 1.6 expected value is between rotation and borderline. 10 points MVP, 7 for top 20, 5 for top 50, 3 for a starter, 2 for a rotation player, 1 for a borderline player. So the 16th pick gives you about a a 1 point, actually the 16th pick specifically gives you a 1.1. Really, it actually drops off right at 15. That range of picks after gives you kind of the range of at 50%. Let's go with 50%. It's actually a little less that you're going to have a rotation player. After Keyonte's rookie year, shooting below 40% and 33% from three, I'd say you have about 30% chance you had a rotation player. And when Keyonte started the season this year, shooting terribly in his first 10 or 12 games, you suddenly were like dropping like a quickly. And in the last 10 games, that number for the first time in his career, if you want to look at it this way, is heading in the upward direction. So follow my logic here. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just being, when you draft a player 16th, you have about a 50% chance they're ever becoming a rotation player. So the day Keyonte walks into the gym, regardless of who he is, 16th pick of a draft, I would say he's a 50-50 chance. He got a lot of exposure, a lot of time. He looked the part. He's got the body size. It all feels good. But the numbers of shooting in his rookie year would tell you he was reducing his chances, okay, of being a rotation player. And then the opening 10 games dropped him more. For the first time, that number's heading up. At this point of his career, 95 games into his career, shooting a little bit below 40%, a little bit below 35%, but having played a lot, played 2,000 minutes. Here are the players who did that. Michael Carter-Williams, Cole Anthony, Kemba Walker, Keyonte. This is an order of point score. Jordan Crawford, Jason Williams, Emmanuel Mudiay, Trey Burke, Jason Kidd, Mookie Blaylock, Kevin Knox, Chauncey Billups, Donyell Marshall, J.R. Smith, Adam Morrison, Jalen Suggs, Ricky Rubio, Bobby Jackson, Lindsey Hunter. These guys played. These are Lonzo Ball. And then it falls off the map. These guys, the next group, all scored under 1,000 points, but played 2,000 minutes. Trey Mann, Mark Macon, Jarvis Hayes, TJ Ford, Jamal Tinsley, Ben McLemore, Vontague Cummins, Eric Strickland, Wesley Johnson, Marcus Smart survived, Theo Madeline, Josh Okogie, he's still in the league, Terrence Williams, Darius Baisley, Kevin Bogans, Sebastian Telfair, Marco Yarch, Alexi Shved, Jeremy Grant, Solomon Hill, Anthony Johnson, Eric Williams, Brian Kelly, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, actually, Anthony Carter, Dante Exum, Junior Harrington, Frank Ntilikina. Okay, but those guys have scored 1,000 points. 17 of them ended up Michael Carter-Williams, Cole Anthony, Kemba, star, or at least, star. Keyonte, Jordan Crawford, Jason Williams, solid. Emmanuel Mudiay, Trey Burke, Jason Kidd, Hall of Fame. Mookie Blaylock, starter. Kevin Knox, Chauncey Billups, Hall of Famer. Donyell Marshall, J.R. Smith, Adam Morrison, Jalen Suggs, Ricky Rubio. Of the 17 guys that at least scored 1,000 points and played 2,000 minutes, begin to see there's a chance there. And now, for the last 10 games, we've seen a totally different player, at least in my mind. First thing that I would say, I'm not ignoring the turnovers. The first thing I would say is I've seen a player who's not trying to be an all-star every night. The end of last year, playing without Jordan and without Lowry, he had to shoot every time. He had to try. I think there's a mindset he's shifted out of that. And to me, he's playing inside the team. I am literally talking only offense here. Okay? I'm sure. But actually, defensively, there's some areas where he's making strides also I'll touch on here in a second. So from my perception standpoint, he's taking 14 shots a night in this stretch. I think he was taking probably, if you go to the stretch before it, I think he was probably taking somewhere in the range, in the first 10 or 11 games of the year, he was probably shooting a few more shots a game. He was shooting 34% and 32% from three. 34% and 32% from three to start the year. And now in his last 10 games, he's taken 34 to 43%, and his three-point shooting at 34%. And I really still believe that three-point shooting can get to 35, 36, 37% with some ease, because he makes the off the bounce three well, and he's not a good catch and shoot guy yet, and I'm sure he'll figure that out. Okay, let's dig a little bit more into this. There's the premise of why his last 10 games is important, and then we're going to look at points gained and some other stuff. But the premise is that we were on a trajectory that was going the wrong direction, and for the first time, there have been real strides of that trajectory, both to some extent offensively and defensively, to head the right direction. That's next on Locked On Jazz. The Thursday edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you in part by Chime Financial. Is it time for you to take control of your financial world? Here's how Chime works for you. Chime helps with fee-free, say that 10 times fast, fee-free overdraft up to $200. Okay? So here's how it works. We've all been there. You want to take control of your finances by using Chime checking account with features like no monthly or maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, and getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. You can do this all at chime.com/NBA. Get spotted on debit card purchases or cash withdrawals, no monthly fees or maintenance fees, and over 50,000 fee-free ATMs. To date, Chime has spotted members over $32 billion in transactions through SpotMe. Friends give friends a boost. Eligible members get complimentary boost, a temporary increase of friends' SpotMe limit. Set up your direct deposit in your Chime account. After qualifying directly, deposit $200+. Chime will notify you to enroll in SpotMe, and when an activated debit card, Chime will spot you up to $200 on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. Your next direct deposit is applied to your negative balance. Chime never charges overdraft fees for using SpotMe. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/NBA. That's chime.com/NBA. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. SpotMe eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Direct deposit timing depends on submission of payment file. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members. Enroll in SpotMe and are subject to monthly fees. Fees apply to out-of-network ATMs or OTC withdrawals. I think it's got to be clear what I'm saying here. I'm not making a decision that, yes, Keyonte's going to be a star. No, Keyonte's not going to be a star. I just think it's super important that things are trending in the correct direction for the first time in a while for the kid. For his own well-being, too. He's trying hard. He's a smart kid. He works hard. He's doing all the right things. Everything around him is right. He's growing up. He's more mature. He's got a great body. He looks the part. He's interested in being great. He watches film. He does all the things you're supposed to do. And I said it a lot, the ball's got to go in. And I said I would evaluate him at 30 games. The opening 10 games was so dreadful. It's okay, we're not doing that. But it's nice to see that what we really wanted to see from game 1 to 10 is happening in game 11 to 20. So last year in points gained, which is the offensive metric we debuted yesterday for the season, it looks at the efficiency of offensive players. Keyonte was a minus 1.1 for the season. As a rookie, that's actually not that bad, considering. Partially because he took 40% of his shots as threes. It's pretty great. And we don't hurt you for turnovers. And he was turning it over 17% of his possessions, which is a lot. He went to the free throw line 9% of the time. So far this year, and I don't love this trend, he's going to the free throw line less. Okay. This year he's going to the free throw line 7.3% of his possessions. Okay, that's not great. That could be the rule change, right? Really, he's the kind of player that's being impacted where he used to dive into someone, get that contact, get that call. He's not getting anywhere. So you have to figure out that. He also starts the game with or I mentioned this in Empty the Noggin, which is exclusive on the newsletter. He takes an inordinate amount of his first shots in 6 minutes as threes. So he's not getting to the rim the same way. His points gained for this year is worse than last year. It's minus 1.9. Okay, so that's, oh, shoot. Okay. But the last 10 games, he's negative 0.3. Still negative, but negative 0.3 for a guard suddenly is pretty viable. Like, if you can get to average as a guard, you're fine. If you get to better than average guard, you're great. He's doing it because he's shooting better. His turnover rate is up. He's turning it over 20% of the possessions that end in his hand. It's really high. And so that's a real, like, we'll address that somewhere else, some other time. Like, what position he is still unclear. But the first thing Keyonte has to do and is he good enough defensively? I'll talk about, he's getting better. But the first thing he's got to be is good enough offensively. Like, maybe the coaching staff will tell you the first thing they'd like out of him is to be good enough defensively. But if you're not good enough, like, he's got to be good enough offensively first. And so we're seeing a sign that that's possible. He's doing it based on three-point shooting. Okay? That's really how he's doing it right now. Because he's only going to the line 5% of the time. That's a hard way to live. You have to shoot probably 38 to 40% from three to be able to do that. And what's interesting, he's not, and to be a positive offensive player. In the last 10 games, he's shooting 34% from three. He's got up to 43% from the field, which is great. He's actually making his twos. But he's also, to me, if you take out the 23-shot game against Denver, when I think he kind of had to, and he had it rolling a little bit, 8 shots against Dallas, 10 shots against LA, 14 shots against Oklahoma City, 11 shots against New York, 13 against the Lakers, 12. He's playing the game. He's taking what the game's bringing to him. It's going to lead to much greater efficiency as a player. And the quest, in my mind, is not to try to be an all-star. It is for him, I'm sure. But that's not necessarily what I'm hoping for. A viable NBA rotation player that's efficient and then either plays on the ball or off the ball. I don't know yet. Defensively, something really interesting has happened to Keyonte. Taylor Hendricks started the year guarding the best offensive player on the other team unless he was 7 feet tall. But he guarded the point guard, he guarded wing, you do that. Taylor Hendricks has the tragic injury, and nice to see Taylor yesterday talking with the media, seemed really upbeat, says he slipped on a wet spot on the floor. But he did seem in good spirits. Taylor was, so far this year, had been delightful just to kind of be around because he was so much more of an adult and he was looking you in the eyes and he just looked, he just was growing up. His spirits yesterday were super. And obviously, thought he got a long way to go, but really thought he had made strides as a basketball player. Nonetheless, Taylor was guarding the best defensive player. Then Cody Williams was. Well, Cody's now in the G League. Taylor's out for the year. And it was Keyonte George on LeBron James the other night. When we go to Portland, he might have Shaedon Sharpe. When we go to Sacramento, he's going to have De'Aaron Fox. When we come home, we never get to do that. No, when we play Phoenix, he's going to have Devin Booker or Bradley Beal. Right? We go play the Clippers, he's got James Harden. Then we go on the road, he's going to have Cade Cunningham. Then he's going to have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland on that trip. So this is a different world for him defensively now. And he's stepped up to it pretty well, actually. He has not ducked this challenge, which is cool. So we're seeing a nice trend here. Here's another little tiny one. Will Hardy said the other day in the press conference, I'm not looking at his numbers anymore. Okay, I am. That's all I got. But Will Hardy talked about the area between the hashtag and midcourt. That you've really got to come into that with speed and tempo, like the on-ramp of a freeway, where you're coming on and you hit it at 55, 65 miles an hour to merge with traffic. And that too often, Keyonte's walking it across half court, and then he comes across half court, then the defender sticks to him. Now the half court line is a problem for you because it's behind you. You can't retreat. They're up on you. You've not gotten across half court in a lot of time, in good time. And now the offense is really stymied because this guy's up on you and you're about to turn it over. Well, the other night, I saw Keyonte do exactly that, get picked, and then for the rest of the night, I saw him use the on-ramp. These are the little tiny things you and I aren't going to see on a nightly basis well enough because the coaches and everyone else are going to see them. And hopefully I'll relay them to you when I get told about them. Not because I'm going to see them, because I'm going to tell you about them, because I was told about them. Those are the other areas. Those little kind of areas are where there's real improvement taking place. Over 10 games. Again, tonight he might be awful. He was awful against Dallas. He's always awful against Dallas. He's yet to play well in 7 games against his hometown team. But over stretches. So what? Let's watch. Game 21 through 30. Can this offensive efficiency kick up? He's going to have a bigger defensive assignment. And then at some point, the turnovers got to come down. And maybe he's not going to play on ball as much. But in the meantime, there's some real progress taking place. All right, the NBA needs to shoot way more threes. Way more. Yep, I'll try to explain it next. A little deep dive coming up on Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sports book of the NFL. It's the official sports book of Locked On as well. And right now, get ready to tackle the NFL action and any NBA action with FanDuel's #1 sports book, because new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place your live bets on the NFL or the NBA all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game and you can check out the latest stats, view play-by-play, so much more on one page. It's at FanDuel.com. Join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel Sportsbook. Thursday night football tonight. Coming your direction, the Lions and the Packers, and the Lions are a 3.5-point favorite. There's all sorts of touchdown bets and the rest you can make on that. NBA tonight, the Denver Nuggets and the Cleveland Cavaliers are in Cleveland. That's a pretty good one. 4-point favorite for Cleveland. Other good games tonight, Sacramento and Memphis. Memphis is a 3-point favorite, and Houston's at Golden State. Houston's a 3.5-point favorite. NBA Cup. I was trying to see if I could find if they had NBA Cup odds. I'm curious who the favorite to win the NBA Cup is, actually. I'm assuming it's probably Oklahoma City at this point, but I might go that it's an Eastern Conference team because the East is easier. Who is the favorite? Oklahoma City plus 280, Knicks plus 330, Milwaukee plus 600, Rockets plus 700, Mavericks plus 750, Warriors plus 800. Huh. That's interesting to me. I can't say why, because I don't want to be giving any tipping or anything like that, because I'm not allowed to do that as an NBA employee. But that's interesting to me. Have a great one. Just leave it at that. That is FanDuel, official sportsbook of Locked On and the NFL. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen. Please sign up for our daily newsletter. It's great. Here's what it is. You get breakdown of Locked On Jazz or whatever, like the most important topic is. I give you exclusively Empty the Noggin after games. I give you late game watches exclusively. Katie Heindel writes our national article. And then today, Mike Schreier of Basketball Feelings does great work for us. He's kind of like, I think Katie's very kind of deep and smart thinking and big picture. And Mike's really kind of X-y and O-y and Zach Lowy. And then those are exclusive to the newsletter. And then Josh Lloyd gives fantasy tips. So it's really, really good ultimate one-stop for basketball newsletter, trying to give you everything you need, plus all links to other Jazz articles and NBA articles. One spot, all you need, NBA newsletter. Pretty great. Go to LockedOnDaily.com or use the QR code right here. Okay. I went down a rabbit hole the other day, and I found some interesting things. So first thing is that last year teams shot 36.7% of threes, and this year teams are shooting 39% of their shots as threes. And that 2.3% jump of three-point shot attempts is only surpassed once in the last 20 years, and that was the Warrior kind of explosion from 15-16 to 16-17, and that's when we jumped 3 percentage points. If you actually think about it, I might argue that going from 26% of your shots to 29% of your shots as threes, going from 36.7% of your shots as threes to 39% is actually a bigger deal. Okay? So 2 things are really interesting here. One is the amount of shots at the rim. The most efficient shot in the NBA every time is at the rim. Okay? We all know. We all kind of, number 1 most efficient shot is the free throw line. Number 2 most efficient shot is at the rim. The number 3 most efficient shot is a corner 3. The number 4 is an above the break 3. And then very, very, very far behind all of that are any type of mid-range or in the paint non-restricted area shots. Just to give it to you on the most basic level, free throws like 1.5 points. A rim shot is 1.3. A corner 3, when people get back up to 40%, is about 1.2. The above the break 3 is a little under 36% right now. So 36% is 1.1. I'm rounding things up a great deal here. And mid-range shots are 0.8, or call it 0.85. So it's a really big jump from 1.5 to 1.3 to 1.2 to 1.1 to 0.85. Okay. What's happened in the league that's interesting is defenses, largely led, I think, by Mike Budenholzer a few years ago, have stopped allowing shots at the rim. From 2005 to 2010, there were 33% of shots at the rim. Then from 2011 to 2020, there were 35 to 36% of shots were at the rim. Every year. It was in the same range. And it was a little bit because the three-point shooting explosion happened and defenses spread out and offense, and you actually could get to the rim more. And then all of a sudden, defenses realized in about 2021 that, oh my gosh, the rim is still the best shot, and we're taking that away. And in a 3-year span, the league went from shooting 36% of their shots at the rim to 35% of their shots at the rim to 33.3% of their shots at the rim. In 3 years, we went from 36 to 35 to 33. And since then, the last 5 years have been 33, 32.5, 33, 33, and 33. The rim shots are flat. Defenses are committed to taking away the rim, and you're getting to the rim 1 every 3 times, and you're probably doing it in transition, and you're probably doing it early in offense. And some teams are better at it than others. The Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings this year are somehow not allowing teams. The Sacramento Kings are only allowing 25% of the shots at the rim. And the Warriors last year were great, also at 28, but the rest of the league kind of sits right between 33 and 36%. The Chicago Bulls and New Orleans Pelicans are doing something wrong and allowing 38 and 39%. But the majority of the league just sits right in there. So 33% of your shots are going to be at the rim, which means that you're no longer trading rim shots for threes. You're trading mid-range shots every time you take a three. And here's something interesting about shooting percentage. Excluding the Omicron year, where we had a bunch of non-NBA players, and excluding the bubble year, where we shot without fans and people shot well, three-point shooting for the league has been between 36 and 36.9% in 13 of the last 18 years. The only exceptions were last year, where we went up to 37.1, the 14-15 season, where for whatever reason nobody could shoot, the 11-12 lockout season, understandable, and then we got to go all the way back to 08-09 and 07-08, where teams shot 37%, but they only took 21% of their shots as threes. It was like a different era. So if you actually look at it, in 11 of the last 16 years, or in 13 of the last 16 years, they've all stayed kind of in the same range. We increased the amount of shots being taken. Since we've crossed 25% of all of our shots being threes in the 15-16 season, the shooting percentage across the league has been 36, 36.4, 36.7, 36, 36, take the Omicron and bubble year out, 36.5, last year's 37.1, and this year 36.5. Listen to that. It's crazy. Since 15-16, the league shooting percentage from three, 36, 36.4, 36.7, 36, 36.3, 36.5, 37.1, and 36.5. And this will probably go up as the season goes on. When we increase the volume of three-point shots, the percentage of makes does not go down. So you're not getting to the rim. The percentage of threes, the more we take them, does not go down. Shoot more threes. I mean, way more. The old goal was 40% of your shots at the rim, 40% of your shots at the three, 20% of your shots are mid-range because it just happens. That was the season average goal. Quinn used to talk about that a lot, 40, 40, 20. I don't think you can do 40 on the front side anymore. I think the goal now has to be 35, 45, 20. And frankly, should probably be 35, 50, 15. If you are trading, I know, game gets late, playoffs, mid-range. I got it. I hear you. I'm not totally buying. If you are trading, just mathematically, a mid-range shot for a three, because that's what you're doing now, because you're not getting to the rim more. I'm not saying go to the rim less. I'm just saying there is a limit on the amount of times you can go in that cookie jar. If you shoot 27%, let's call it 30% from three, just round numbers, you're getting a better shot than a mid-range shot. 30% from three is a better, more efficient shot than mid-range shots. Now, I haven't done the next piece of this. But what also is interesting to me that is not being talked about in this league is that offensive rebounding is way up. In fact, dramatically. That's the other area. The two areas that are spiking this year that are different than everything else are three-point shooting and offensive rebounding. Offensive rebounding is up to 28% of all misses are offensive rebounds. Well, it used to be that number was kind of stabilized at 26%. It kind of jumped 2 years ago to 26.8, but it was at 26. And if we go back, that was like 4 years ago. And if we go back to like 13, 14 and jump back, 10 years, that number was down at about 27% or something like that. And then it spiked back up for a little while and then drops and it goes back up. So we're back up to 28%. Well, if you're getting more offensive rebounds than ever before, then the extra miss might not be as big a deal. Because the point value of your possession is higher on a three, but you're going to miss more of them. But if you're getting more offensive rebounds, then maybe that's not that big a deal. Because you're going to get one more offensive rebound out of those misses, and that negates it. Now, the other question would be is if you're allowing more transition because of that. So we can get into that deep dive some other time. And you can get into whether you, in turn, lose your focus of going to the rim, and you start to, keep an eye on it. 71.8% of all shots this year are rims or threes. 39% of shots are threes, and 33% of shots are at the rim. So 72%. This is as big a change in one season as we have seen. There was a significant jump in 18-19 from 35.6 of all shots being threes and rims to 69% of all shots. 4 percentage point jump from 17-18 to 18-19. But we've been at 69, 70, 69.5. Omicron year was actually the same. Bubble year was the same. 69.5. And then we just jumped to 71.8. Huge jump. 2.3%. So massive change. I also think this is the rule change the NBA made last year that made driving more difficult to the basket has unintendedly made you shoot more threes. But I'm here to tell you, the league's still way behind on how many threes they should be taking. That is Locked On Jazz today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please follow me at DLock09. That's DLock09 at 09 on Instagram, on Twitter, on X, same thing, on Threads, and on Blue Sky. Please follow me at DLock09. Sign up for the newsletter, lockedondaily.com, or the QR code right here. It is free for you. It is the ultimate one-stop NBA newsletter. And please follow or subscribe on YouTube and hit that bell button or on your podcast player so you can be back with us tomorrow. We'll be back with you tomorrow from Portland, Oregon for an Ask LOJ Friday edition. No wonder I keep doing that wrong. They've moved. We send you the first ever 24/7 national sports channel, Locked On NBA. Also, check out Locked On NBA Daily after every game.